the 1st of March, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua. Tetzaveh.
By the way, I had wanted to mention this already on Pasuk Gimel, because it's going back. That's what Oison Chachmei Leiv is referring back to Pasuk Gimel. The Haim, that's the Haim. To Daber Kol Chachmei Leiv, right? All wise-hearted. Now, generally, one associates wisdom with the mind, with the brain, not with the heart. Heart is a seat of feeling. So what does it mean, a chacham leiv? We have the saying, chacham leiv yikach mitzvahs. Somebody who's wise-hearted takes mitzvahs, uses opportunities to do mitzvahs. So the Chaim Volozhiner had a monumentous work called Nefesh HaChaim, basically covers certain very basic principles of Yiddishkeit. Basically, who is Hashem, Tefillah, Torah, basically the supremacy of learning Torah, the various things. It's actually a very interesting work because it's a mixture of Nigla and Nista. Okay, I reveal Torah and Kabbalah. Okay, leave it for a second. Anyway, see, he says Pshat over there. What does it mean, a Chacham Leiv? Is somebody whose heart, his wisdom controls his heart. And I'll explain it a little bit as follows. Basically, a person, I'll use the Kabbalistic term, but it's really Dvar Parsha. It's called, person has three parts to his, shall we say, his, not physical being, but he means to his, even, let's call it his spiritual being. Person has three parts: his nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The nefesh, any living creature has a nefesh, right? Even animals, worms, anything that's moving has a nefesh. That's nefesh. Neshama is only something which human beings have, because that is basically a person's intelligence. The seat of a person's intelligence is based on his neshama, the fact he has a neshama. And in that respect, Jews, by virtue of the fact that they are part of the Jewish people and they're connected to Hashem, have a higher level of neshama than non-Jews. That any human being has a neshama. Now, what is ruach? So ruach is basically the point where the two parts to a person's nefesh, habehemis, that we call it, means his part of him which is, I don't want to use the word soul, because soul is really something sounding more spiritual than what a nefesh is. His nefesh is his feelings, let's put it that way. A human person has feelings, okay? That's a person's nefesh, and animals also have feelings, okay? But that is basically based on the fact any physical being has a certain level of intelligence, has a brain, and that controls a person's feelings, his actions, whatever. So that is his mind. The mind of any animal is a nefesh. That is based in the person's koved, in his liver. Okay? that is the epitome, the liver, which is basically where all the blood in the body is processed, symbolizes the person's physicality, his materialistic side, his material side. Okay, the neshama, as we mentioned before, is chelek elokami ma'al. So certainly, let's discuss the Jewish neshama. Jewish neshama is a chelek elokami ma'al, and that is basically seated. The truth is, even a non-Jew's neshama is also seated in his brain. Okay, which is his. That's the person's intelligence. That's a person's spiritual side to him. Even the person's intelligence is purely non-materialistic side to him. Now, where the two meet up, right, that's what's called ruach. Sham Shemafal Hirsch explains that to mean that ruach indicates movement. Okay, a wind never stays still, because by definition, a wind is moving. So ruach, which is the same, call it spirit, wind, whatever, indicates something that's moving. And where there is the meeting point of the neshama with the nefesh, that's in the heart, person's heart. And who's going to control the person's heart? Is the nefesh the materialistic side of a person is going to control his heart, or the spiritual side, the neshama, is going to control it? And where they meet and they have an interaction, let's call it, then that's called the ruach. So that's nefesh, ruach, neshama. That's what's called known, I think, naran. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. Those are the three basic parts of any human being, and more especially any Jew. Those are the three basic parts of his being, of his how should I say it? Not actually physical being, his mental being. Let's call it that way. Okay. Akoponim, a chacham lei is somebody who uses his mind, right, his neshama, to control his heart. His heart is where the interaction is between the neshama and the nefesh. And somebody who's a chacham lei, he uses his wisdom, which is basically what the basic main constituent of the neshama. He uses that to control his heart. In other words, in the interaction between the nefesh, he makes it that the neshama wins out over the nefesh. The neshama is going to be in control over the nefesh, and that's what we mean by somebody who's a chacham leiv. Him controls his heart. And in fact, the Gemara in Bracha says a very interesting thing. There's a pasuk in Daniel, I think it is. It says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives wisdom to the wise. And there's even a pasuk. It says, Uvelev kol chacham leiv nosati chachma. In the heart of every wise-hearted person, I put wisdom. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean? It's like, how do you start off that? How do you start the process going? If a person has to be a chacham leiv in order to get chachma, right? So how do you get the initial chachma to be a chacham leiv? It says, Uvelev kol chacham leiv nosati chachma. So the Gemara says that it's doima to, I can't remember exactly what it is, cup. I can't remember exactly the mashal. But anyway, suffice it to say that means HaKadosh Baruch Hu says somebody who's a chacham leiv means he uses his wisdom to control his heart. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give him further wisdom because he's utilizing his wisdom to the good, in the correct way. That's basically what the Gemara says. Okay, so I'm just saying that's why Dafka Chachmei Leiv were the ones who were the craftsmen. It was not entirely based on a person's skill or ability to create these garments, but it was dependent on his motivation as well, what his mindset was. If he was doing it Hashem Shemaim in the proper way, he was to be chosen to be, he's a Chacham Leiv, and he was chosen to be one of the craftsmen to make in this particular case, the garments. Later on in Parshas Kisisa, it mentions regarding all the formation, the creation, and the crafting of all the kelim of the mikdash, of the Mishkan. Okay, let's continue. Okay, we've got another long Rashi coming up. Pasuk Vav. Let's do Pasuk Vav.
Vasu es ha ephod zahav techeles v'argaman.
Yeah.
Toalas shani v'shesh mashzar mashzar maaseh hashev choshev.
Right.
So they shall make the ephod of gold, turquoise wool, and purple wool, scarlet wool, and twisted linen.
Twisted, I would say twined better.
Twined.
Okay.
The work of an artist. My note says choshev means an expert weaver.
Right.
The work of an expert.
Rashi going to say that choshev refers specifically to an expert weaver. Okay?
Right. Okay.
In fact, I translated over here Maaseh Choshev, meaning I translate interwoven, as we're going to see in Rashi.
Instead of twisted.
So twisted is a very simplified thing. It's twined. It basically means moshzar. Moshzar means twined. We're going to see more about it in Rashi. Okay? Let's do it now. Now there's quite a lot of Rashi on this pasuk.
Vasu es ha'ephod im basi lifaresh maaseh ha'ephod v'ha'choshen al seder ha'mikraos. If I were to come to explain the manufacture of the ephod and the choshen according to the order of the verses, hare perushan pirakim. Their explanation would be fragmented. Vayishga hakorei b'tzeirufan. And there was error. It would lead to an error when combining them.
Yeah, which means, and the reader would err in piecing the details together.
L'chach ani kosev ma'asehem kimos shehu. Therefore, I am writing their manufacture as it is.
Yeah. By the way, is it your translation or you're reading from the?
I'm reading from my English.
It's very simplified English or whatever. Therefore, writing here the actual way in which they were made, in order that the reader may be able to read it quickly and easily. Okay.
Laman yarutz hakore vo.
Right.
In order that the reader can run
Oh,
in it. V'achar kach afaresh al seder hamikraos. And afterwards, I will explain in the order of the verses.
Yeah.
Ha'ephod asu kimin sinar shel.
Asui. Yeah, Asui with the yud at the end. Yeah. Yeah, okay, carry on.
Oh, asui. Shel nashim roch vos susim. The ephod was made like a kind of apron of women riding horses.
Right.
The chogar oso me achorav. And it was girded from behind. Keneged libo, opposite his heart. The lamata me atzi lav, below his elbows.
Right. It's interesting. I don't know if you noticed that even however, and with anybody whose body is proportionate, not talking about those things, but anybody, if you notice anybody who stands, if the bottom of your elbows come corresponding to your waist.
Right.
So therefore that's the place. That's what she's saying, the place of where he girds himself. Yeah.
It was girded at the waist.
Right, so if you can see me over here, this is where my elbows are. So this is basically my waist.
Right.
Step back a bit. Okay. That's the waist. And that's just below the elbows. Here's my waist.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's this just below the elbows. Okay.
I have a picture.
Sorry?
I have a picture.
Okay.
You can see it's girded at the waist in the picture.
Yeah.
There's a
It
bow.
doesn't clearly illustrate though that the arms then are cut off. The arms are a little bit short. That's what I wanted to point out.
Right.
And any given person whose body is, whether it be small or tall, always the waist is just below the elbows.
Right. Yeah, that's true for me.
Right. I think you can try yourself. Anybody? Okay.
Okay. Now I lost my place.
I'm sorry.
Below the elbows. Meir, we're in Kaf Chet Pasuk Vav.
Four.
Oh, okay.
We're in the middle of the Rashi.
Okay, thank you.
Rachbo ke midas rochav gabo shel adam v'yot ser. Its width was like the width of a man's back, or more, and more. Uma dia ad vav. It would reach to his heels.
Right.
Veha cheshev mechubar b'rosho. The cheshev, which my commentary says that's the belt, was connected at its top. Al Pnei Rachbo, along its width. Maaseh Oreg, the work of a weaver.
Right. It was woven. It was woven.
Right. So my footnote says it was woven together with the apron-like part. It was not woven separately and then sewn afterwards.
Correct. I think Rashi's going to mention that later.
Uma'arich lechan ulechan, and it extended to either side. Kedei lehakif v'lachagor bo, to encompass and to gird with it. V'hakesefos mechubaros ba'cheshev. And I'm sorry, yeah, and the shoulder straps were attached to the cheshev. Achas layamin ve'achas lasmol, one to the right and one to the left.
Right.
And now I have something in parentheses. Merucha,
yeah, carry on.
Merucha kos zu mizu ke shiur havidalas kesefayim, set apart from each other by the size of his shoulders. Me'achorei ha-kohen, at the back of the Kohen. Lishnei ketzos rachbo shel sinar, at the two ends of the width of the apron. Uche shezok fan, when he would stand them straight.
Right.
Dos lo al shtei kiseifav, they would stand on his two shoulders. Vehein kamin shtei ritzuos, and they were like two straps. Asuyos mimin ha'ephod, made of the material of the ephod. Arukos b'kedei shiur lizakpan etzel tzavaro mikan umikan, sufficiently long to stand them straight next to his neck on either side. V'nik palos lefanav lemata mik seifav ma'at, and they were bent over in front of him a bit below his shoulders.
Yeah. Okay.
Avnei.
I don't know if you. I mean, I hope you understand it from this, because I'm not sure I would. But anyway, means that they came down a little bit forward over here. Having a bit. That means the shoulder straps came up from the back to the next near his neck, and they came out just to a little bit over here, a little bit forward.
Uh-huh.
Right. But then there's another strap that's attached to them that comes down in the front to the choshen.
No, that was like strings, gold strings made of gold, which were attached from the shoulder straps to the choshen, which basically started down here.
Right.
That's what you have in your picture over here. Yeah, I don't know why he does it like loose. I'm actually tight. It was like a direct from the shoulder straps to the choshen. It was like a straight line of these strings. Okay.
V'avnei hashoham kivoos bahem. And the shoham stones are set into them. Achas al kasef.
Katev. Oh.
Katef. I don't know.
Kasef. Okay, right, fine. Kasef Harish.
Yamin va'achas al kasef smol.
Right.
One on the right shoulder strap and one on the left shoulder strap.
Okay. So actually here has a very pretty clear picture, even though I don't agree with his actual drawing of the actual ephod itself. Yeah, but here you see that the hair. Oopsie.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you've got the number. Can't see it clearly here. Doesn't come out clearly. Yeah, number 2. Yeah, number 1 is the shoulder straps. If you can see a number 1 over here clearly, are the shoulder straps themselves. And up at the top there are the 2, like mamish on the shoulders. Those are the 2 shoam stone. And we're going to see about this 3 are shtei mishpetzois zahav. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, how many minutes?
V'hamish b'tzos nisunos b'rashehem livnei keseifav. And the settings are put at the ends of the shoulder straps in front of his shoulders.
Right. So in other words, the shoam stones were up on top. Okay, and then these mishpatzei zav were further down, attached to the end of the shoulder straps.
Ushtei avosos hazahav tehuvos bishtei tabaos shebachoshen. The 2 golden cables, I guess that's what you're calling the strings, are inserted into 2 rings that are on the choshen. Bishnei kitzos rachbo ha elyon. And the 2 ends of its width at its upper side, achas la yamin, the achas la smol. One on the right and one on the left. Ushnei Rashi Hashar Sheres Tikuil Tikuin Bimish Betzes Layamin.
The yamin. Okay, maybe I'll show it to you. I have to have a tie over here.
Two ends of the chain are inserted into the setting at the right. The chain
I'll show you
shnei.
over here. What he means is as follows. Here, you see this tie, okay? So what it was, one end was hooked. Let's say this is like a gold string. This is much shorter. One end was hooked onto the mishpetzet over here, and then it had a certain length. And now I'm going to show it with the other side. This also, the other end also had a hook. And what was that the two ends were drawn, one went down, there was a loop or a ring further down, and the string, this gold string, started at the top, went through the ring and came back up again to the shoulder strap. So both ends, that's what Rashi means, both ends were hooked onto the mishbetzes of. Ushnei Roshei HaSharsheres, the two ends of the strings, the chains, two gold braided chains. Two ends of the right chain were fixed to the gold setting on the right, and similar two ends of the left chain were fixed to the setting that was on the left shoulder. Okay, that's what he says.
Nimsa choshen talui b'mishbetzos ha'ephod al libo mal
Milefonov.
Thus, the choshen hangs from the settings of the ephod over his heart in front of him. Ba'od shtei tibaos bishnei kitzos ha'choshen b'sachti so. And there are yet another two rings at the two ends of the choshen at its bottom.
Right.
Uche negdam shtei tibaos bishtei chisfos ha'ephod. Corresponding to them, two rings on the two shoulder straps of the ephod.
Right.
Vilamata.
Good picture here. 1 second. Let me see if I have a good diagram to show this. Okay, basically what it was, these, I'm just, let me see if you can see me. Okay, you have the two shoulder straps coming down over here, and the shoulder straps at the back came down over here. So somewhere around above the waist, above where it was attached, there were two holes there. And from there came to the front. You're going to see they were attached like tcheles wall strings, and they were attached to the bottom. So the choshen mishpat, the top was over here, and the bottom was over here by the waist. And on the two side corners over here were another two rings, and the two rings over here were attached to the shoulder straps at the back, as we're going to see b'psil tcheles. That's what Rashi's going to say over here now.
So down below at its lower end, which is attached to the cheshev, tibaos hachoshen el mul tibaos ha'ephod. The rings of the choshen correspond to the rings of the ephod. Vim ze al zeh. one lying on the other.
Yeah, but actually the mice, it wasn't actually, they were adjacent to each other. So I translated it that way. Lying upon one another. I had a note over here saying that it means they weren't actually one upon one another, but they were lying adjacent to each other. Okay?
Right.
Carry on. That's what it says. Umarachson.
Umarachsan beef seal to cheles. And he fastens them with a string of turquoise.
Draws them together. Connect them, right? With a seal to cheles. Tochov betabos ha'ephod ba'achoshen, which was inserted at the back over here, and the rings of the choshen at the front. She'etachtis ha'choshen dovok lecheshev ha'ephod. That the bottom of the choshen, yeah, should be attached or stuck or held, right? It should lie close, right, held together to the belt of the ephod. It shouldn't be go backwards and forwards. It means it should be held